You killed that guy, didn't you?
Okay, man, you can't prove that legally.
Welcome to Sport Court. The return.
Sporticus, my pitch for you today. Hockey, quite frankly, is not nearly violent enough. So I think that instead of having overtime, which sucks and is very boring and not at all interesting, we should simply take the goalies, the two largest of the players, and have them fight to the death over who wins.
Hockey being more violent. I say sustained. Okay, we're now walking to the stand. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Dr. Zach, MD. Please refer to me as such. Your Honor, what I've brought to you today is another overtime hockey rule. Yes, I know, we just discussed this, goalies fighting to the death. That's great. But I saw a Twitter post online where it said if we reach a 6 overtime in hockey, which has not happened since 1936, they drop the second puck. And I, for one, think that hockey with one puck, it's boring. We've seen it already. You drop the second puck, you brought me back in. Now, this may not work, which is why I'm proposing we go further. In the 7th overtime, the post states 5 pucks are in play and 15 players per team are on the ice at once. Utter chaos. We would love to see that. And the rules for the 8th overtime, which again has never happened, are inside of a sealed envelope that has not been opened since 1917. But, all I'm saying is hockey needs more pucks.
I will say that I have played this in air hockey, and it's a hit. So, I'm going to say sustained.
Thanks, Mom.
We're now calling to the stage Thomas? Couple Toms here, a little confused.
Sorry, I was just doing something in the back there. I'll be right back in. Sorry.
We don't have all day here, sir.
Yeah, no, sorry. Very sorry, Your Excellency. I come to you today before the highest court in the land, Sport Court, because I would like to posit before you a rule under which the NFL outlaws the forward pass. I believe that in the past 30 or so years, the NFL has moved too far into a passing league. There are simply too many points, too many exciting plays being made. You look at certain players like Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson. It's just they're not playing football the way it was meant to be played when the game was created. And I feel like we have strayed very far from what football is supposed to be. And so with that in mind, I would like to outlaw the forward pass.
So how is this going to affect fantasy?
Well, you see, I'm more of a fan of playing football in reality. So as much as your fantasy team might be impacted by the forward pass being outlawed, the good thing is you will be able to really appreciate the old school sort of hat-on-hat football that just isn't present in today's game.
And so are we trying to raise the level of CTE here in the league?
I think that goes back to your fantasy point. I prefer to talk about things that are real in the world of football. And I'm not really sure if CTE really has a place in this discussion, considering we are trying to focus on reality here.
Too bad we don't have a doctor here that could, tell us more. That would be so helpful right now. I'm gonna allow it. I think you have a very well thought out plan, and I'm really excited to see what football can become. So yeah.
The best part is we've already seen it. It was what football looked like in 1930. Thank you for your time, Chef.
We're now calling to the stage March Madness versus the number of teams.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, my name for the court, saying my full name again, it's Dr. Zach, MD. The NCAA March Madness tournament was not able to happen this past year due to COVID restrictions. So really the question is, how do we really bring back March Madness? That is why I am proposing that every single D1 men's basketball team entered into March Madness, and they all play at the same time. What I'm hearing is this is just a better experience for the fans because the fans love madness. The fans love second pucks. The fans love more teams on the court at once. I rest my case.
I think we're going to have to revisit this one. We're going to table it for now, and I'm going to say overruled, but I want you to bring it back next year.
I will.
Overruled. All right, now calling to the court, Joe Schmo.
Hello, Your Athleticness. let's talk about discrimination, okay? In the NHL and in hockey leagues across the world, there has been a rule on the books that is quite frankly horrible towards some of their own players. They pretend like goaltenders are valuable contributing members of the team, and yet in the biggest games of the season, with 2 minutes to go, what does every coach do? They tell their goaltender, hey, you've had a great night, but we don't want you on the ice right now. The only way to rectify this, in my eyes, Your Honor, is to introduce a rule that allows skaters to be pulled off the ice so you could add more goaltenders to the game. You're a baller, miss, if I may. I have spent 5+ years very carefully studying the analytics of hockey games across the world. And while I'm not quite ready to make a final statement or publish any research one way or the other, I will say I have seemed to have discovered a correlation between teams winning and teams scoring more goals than their opponent. So the best way to score more goals than your opponent, in my mind, is to put more goaltenders in front of your net so you physically cannot be scored on. By doing this, I think we will objectively increase the amount of winners, maybe even having 2 teams per game win. And as we all know, winning is exciting. So this will drive the fans crazy.
I mean, what you're sounding like is a little bit like participation trophies. And I'm all about having real winners here. Like, we don't
No, you see, the real winners are the goaltenders, because the goaltenders are the ones out there for the full game, getting to make new friends by having all these other people share a very enclosed space with them. And isn't friendship the real victory here?
No, the victory is winning. I'm sorry. I think this is maybe a good idea, but you gotta come back with a better reason, or I'm just gonna have to say overruled. Sorry. We're gonna call whoever's next to the stage. Sorry, I can't quite read the name here.
I'll go. So what I'm thinking here.
Sir, we're in a court. Well, I'm in a court. You may be in a strange blue room, but please, we don't need to eat right now.
Oh no, the bailiff told me I could bring my pasta in here. It's part of my legal proceedings. I was able to obtain the proper paperwork to have some spaghetti. While we're speaking of spaghetti, what I'm thinking is we introduce a rule where after the third quarter of every game, both teams have to eat an entire plate of pasta. We could really get some exciting stuff with just, players that have a belly full of pasta.
If I wanted to watch people eat, I'd watch Joey Chestnut. So, sorry, but this is going to be overruled. Now, I'm going to take a quick recess because I need some pasta. Now calling to stage a Met fan? That's all it says.
Thank you, milady. The most important thing in baseball right now is the whole concept of unwritten rules, right? My proposition is we write down unwritten rules so that they just become rules, right? We know these rules, right? Everyone knows them. So if, say, example, it's a 3-0 count, you're not allowed to hit the ball whatsoever, okay? However, if you do, you must proceed to doff your cap 3 times in succession. And if the pitcher does not return at least 1 doff, then you must strike out purposefully on your next at-bat. This is known by most people. However, some young guys choose to ignore these rules because they're not written down, all right? And there's others too, okay? For example, you're not allowed to hit a double on Tuesdays. This is known. This is known, but no one knows it, which is the problem. If you do not make eye contact with the first base coach, then you are not allowed to go to second base until you make eye contact. This is known, but no one follows the rule because no one knows it. Okay? What is your thoughts on this, your judgeliness?
So, I mean, I get what we're saying there. The kids these days, what do the ads say? They're loud, they're fun, but like they don't follow tradition. So where do you think you're gonna write these down? Like, I'm picturing like a big stone in front of every stadium, maybe. Like we gotta get the word out there. Skywriters.
Here's the thing, Judge. All right, we know all these kids love Twitter. Okay, so we're just gonna make one big Twitter thread of all the unwritten rules to make sure that these kids know them by heart. Because we've had too many instances where teams have won a game by a prime number, even though that is clearly dictated to be wrong in the rules of baseball.
I mean, I really think we do need to get these out there. I think maybe we could work a little more on how exactly and narrow down the exact rules. Like, you didn't mention that if you spit on the ball to make a spitball, you have to also use mouthwash before, because, like, obviously. So once we include some of these, I think this, I'm going to say sustained.
Thank you, your cantankerousness. I'm ready to play ball.
Now calling to this stage, Dr. McGillicuddy.
Your Honor, I swear to fucking God, I didn't fucking kill him.
Sir, this is sport court. Is that what you're here for?
Is this 3rd Street?
No, I think you're looking for across the hall, the non-sporty court. Please leave, sir. The court versus tall players?
Yes, hello, Your Honor. I think the NBA's rule that there can only be 5 players on the court is a very, very good rule, but it's open to modification. I think there should be allowed to be a 6th player on each team who can sit on their teammates' shoulders, so they are not technically on the court.
I think basketball players are too short. Sustained.
Excuse me, Father, may I submit a addition to that rule that was just put forth?
I will hear it.
Yes, I would like to propose that basketball teams be allowed to replace one player with 2 players whose heights add up to that player's heights. So instead of having one player who is 7'2", you might have 2 players who are 3'7" each.
Okay, Doctor, you had something to add.
I would like to add on to the point that instead of one normal basketball player, we can sub them out for 2 smaller players in the trench coat.
I mean, the trench coat would obviously have to be written in the rules.
As someone who has tried to sit on someone's shoulders without a trench coat, it's very difficult to do, and it looks ridiculous.
True. Okay, I will include the trench coat in this, and then I will say sustained.
Thanks, Dad.
The court versus the sport of bowling.
If you bowl with your non-dominant hand, then you're allowed to use the bumpers in an official PBA-sanctioned tournament.
Sure. Who gives a shit about bowling? Sustained.
I do, Your Honor.
Wait, is that the son of professional bowler Steve DiMartino?
Hi, I represent the Democratic Socialists of America, and we are proposing to socialize the game of basketball and the NBA. We can't have the top 1% of the NBA owners owning 99% of the best NBA teams. It's unsustainable. It's ridiculous. And let me ask you, what's the worst thing about watching a game of basketball? The commercials. It's the commercials. If we socialize the game of basketball, we make it publicly owned. No more commercials. Only advertisements for C-SPAN.
How would trading be done between these teams?
Well, the local governments would own the teams, and they'd negotiate. See, instead of just trading player for player, you could trade, say, senator for player, mayor for player. It's great. They'd be public employees.
Judges?
Judges for players.
Yeah, I'd like to get the hell out of here.
Yeah. And let me just say, most municipalities already pay for the stadiums. What is with that? Why are we having the American taxpayer pay for a billionaire's NBA stadium? The 1% owning the 99%. Be the National Socialist Basketball Socialism.
But
National Democratic Socialists Basketball Democratic Socialism. Democratic Socialism.
As a public worker myself in the highest court of the land, sport court, this is obviously a very important issue because fuck the 1%.
Yes.
So sure, sustained.
We can have Karl Marx's skeleton on half court during half times.
Oh, we're in sport court. Yeah. Zoom version. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Hit me up on Twitter @SportCourt.